Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. George Liddard is someone who people have predicted bright things for, and it's kind of easy to see why, because he was on the undercard of the Rhiannon Dixon-Terry Harper world title fight, and he fought a very live opponent called George Davey, who came in with 9 wins, 1 defeat, 1 draw, 2 KOs in the wins column. 26 years of age compared to Liddard's 22. Liddard's undefeated. He's now undefeated in 9 with 5 KOs because he scored a really good, really impressive 5-round TKO against an opponent who, from the off, was, although his flaws were kind of evident, George Davey came to win, and he showed some skills. He was very upright, too upright, with his head up like that, and a huge gap. He's a South Orthodox fighter, so he's hanging his right hand really low. I mean, it was sort of portent of things to come. But he was slick, and he was fast, and he was sharp, and he used his feet well. And Liddard had to. I mean, you could see what he needed to do that with that left hand hanging low. There was also a gap with the lead hand as well. But you've got to go out there and do it against a guy who is, a good fighter. And Liddard did just that. I mean, from the word go, he was sharp, he was fast, he was clearly heavier handed, cut the ring off very well. Davey wasn't running, but he was trying to box on the back foot. Landed some pretty decent punches as well. They're both orthodox fighters. Davey did land a couple of backhands, nothing that troubled Liddard. But in the start of the second round, Davey was on the floor because Liddard, I can't repeat enough, there was a huge gap on the right-hand side of Davey, which you were thinking, surely his trainer's going to tell him to sew that up. But a huge left hook from Liddard landed, bang on the jaw, down goes Davey, gets up, not that hurt, carries on. But Liddard was just better. He hit harder, he was just a little bit sharper, half a punch, half a step quicker, against a guy who, if he'd allowed it, would have fiddled his way into the fight and pinched round. This was an 8-rounder. So it was possible if he'd let George Davey get some sort of momentum going, he could have found himself, in a tight fight. 8 rounds is not that long a fight. At least it's not a 4-rounder, but 4-rounders are crazy. But 8 rounds, you've got to be careful. And it was good that Liddard started very, very quickly. He bloodied Davey's nose. And to be honest with you, this kid's 22 years old, 5'10", which is it's a good height for a middleweight. Not particularly tall, but he's got the range, he's got the dimensions, and more importantly, he knows how to use them. And it then got to the point where he was really outboxing Davey and looking dangerous. In fairness, Davey was doing well. He was a couple of times he was on the ropes, and he fired a couple of very good counters, which sort of pinged off George Liddard, but didn't really bother him. Liddard just looked so relaxed in there, so confident. He was walking to the ring, he was smiling, he was winking at the crowd, and Davey himself looked fine. He didn't look nervous at all. It was quite simply, it was just a case of one guy being better. And sometimes, like in the case of Davey, you just have to hold your hands up and say, well, look, on the night the other guy was better. He's a talented guy. Davey, to be honest with you, even though this was, I suppose you'd say on paper it was a jump up for Liddard, if you look at Davey's record coming in, 9 wins, 1 defeat, 1 draw, he hadn't really beaten anyone of note. They'd all been sort of journeymen. Whereas Liddard, if you look at the type of people he's been facing, in his previous fight, he beat a guy called S.A. Smith, who I don't know anything about, but I looked at his box rec. He's a 6'3", 3-inch middleweight or super middleweight actually, who's gone on to win the Southern Area super middleweight title against an undefeated guy, and Liddard beat him on points over 6. So, the quality of opposition counts, and I think that Liddard is being brought along very, very well, very well. I'm very, very impressed with Liddard. Did you see him? 5th round TKO. The ending came the ending came with a big backhand right that bounced Davey off the floor. David got up. He had blood coming out of his eye. He had blood out of his nose. His nose had been bloodied in the previous round, I think, but the cut eye was there. He looked kind of like a beaten fighter at that point, to be honest with you. And then the referee let it go on, gave him one last chance. The writing was absolutely on the wall, though. And there was another. He caught him on the ropes, hurt him again. Davey was sort of wobbled, shaken, and the referee stepped in and rightly stopped it. So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff from Liddard. I'm impressed. Want to see more of him. What did you think? Comments below as usual. Have you seen him fight before, Liddard? I have. I think he could be the real deal. But leave your comments below and I'll have a read. Subscribe. Like the video if you liked it. Like the video. Cost you nothing. Helps the channel out. Thank you very much. More to come. Take care. Bye for now.